I wanted to shift the conversation to one of your other areas of expertise slash passion, which is conscious aging. Now, I hadn't heard of that terminology or those words put together before. So I'd love to give you the floor and just explain what conscious aging is.
Sure thing. So if you think about being, well, you think of aging, right? Aging. So aging is the process of getting older. So the day we're born, we are aging, and one day we will exit out, right? So the definite seminal points of life: the day you were born and the day you die, definite, guarantee. Okay. Consciousness is being aware of our surroundings. So conscious aging is really about how can I be more aware of the transitions that I'm going through in my life. Now, when we're younger, we have specific transitions. We move from a baby to a young child to a teenager to a young adult. So those are 20, 18, 20, those are all seminal kind of markers. But as you then get older, it all gets merged. Like there's no markers in your 40s and 50s. So how do you transition? And things that maybe you may be experiencing, e.g., menopause for women, empty nesting, kids leaving home, redundancy, health issues, being the sandwich generation, parents, dying parents, kids. All those are transition periods, transition moments. And sometimes we are not equipped for them. We don't talk about them enough. We don't prepare ourselves. It just automatically says, so, it'll be fine. So that's what conscious aging is.
And why is it important for someone, say, a millennial, to know about conscious aging? Does that apply to them, or is it only when you reach a certain age?
Absolutely. For a millennial, it's important because they, as a generation, are going to live far longer on the planet, right? So over the last 100 years, we have extended our lifespan by more than 30 years. So kids born today can basically think about living till they're about 100. Okay? Now, if you think of your retirement age, retirement, most times being, say in Australia, 67, some of the Asian countries, 65. So you retire at that age, you've got another 30 years. So what are you going to do in that time? A. B, how are you going to fund it? How are you going to afford to do that? So hence, the reason why we want to be conscious is actually thinking about, okay, my life is actually in stages. How do I do things differently? What are some things I need to do so therefore you see that today, right? People may study for a while, they travel, they come back, they work, they travel. So that's all those shifts. A friend of mine just wrote an article in the Guardian paper that came out last week, and she was talking about the increasingly the divorce rates among the over 50s, how it's becoming increasingly more the gray divorce. Because in the old days, you used to say, it doesn't matter, I'll stick it out. Now, people are saying, listen, I'm 50, I'm going to be around for another 30 years. Right? I want a chance at something new, I want a chance at something different. So people, so all those things, going back to school, the number of startups which are now being started, being founded by people in their 50s, people rethinking careers. So that's what conscious aging is about. Because what happens as we age, Luke, well, someone said this, right? If old age was a destination, you'd get very few tourists coming to it. Okay.
Wow.
So it's not something that we choose to go to, but it happens to all of us. We all age. So how do we do it? How do we transition into that? Yeah, and I believe that as we get older, how do we transition to becoming as elders? Right? How do we share the information?
Yeah, well, I think also there's been, from what I can gather based on my experience, but also reading on history and things like that, there's a negative connotation to being elder, right? But if you look at
Correct.
ancient
Yeah,
cultures
yeah.
and ancient societies, being older was like your like wisdom. The you'd go speak to them for knowledge and wisdom and things like that. And now it feels like it. This is my perception. It just feels like we treat older people like senile and like I'd put them in a nursing home. Let's just sort them out, you know. But there's and me personally, I love speaking to people who are at that point in their life because there's so much there, so much history, so much emotion, so much knowledge that we can gather from them. And it feels like as a Western culture, I mean specifically, but also with the rise of the internet as well to a degree, we've lost the feeling of seeing someone who's older as holding wisdom, right? Because they've gone through those rite of
That's
passages
correct.
and they like, oh yeah, I remember when I was in my 20s, I was doing this. In 10 years' time, you'll feel completely different. Or in 20 years' time, this will happen. And you're like, oh yeah, yeah, whatever. And then it happens in your life and you're like, you're 100% right. So
Yeah, yeah. So I think it's a lot of it is also because we live now in a very ageist society. You know, we live in a very youth-oriented society, and technology has actually forced a lot of that because the technology is changing so quickly. So therefore, the young are the ones who are really picking that up much quicker. Even if you look at the average age of CEOs in multinationals, it's been declining over the last 10 years or so. You know, at one stage you had to be in your 60s to be a CEO. Then it became in the 50s. Now it's actually very much in the 40s, because of the demands of the job and having the energy to keep up to it. So hence those things become kind of important. Yeah.
thanks for watching this clip of the Getting Mental podcast. If you like this clip, check out the full episode here or more clips here.